Hello everybody, and welcome to another replay analysis brought to you by me, Mr. ViBE over here. And today we're doing a diamond level, sorry about all this, we're doing a diamond level ZvT. We're going to be doing some analysis for Mr. Shadi. And yeah, man. If you guys don't know how these work, if this is your first time seeing a replay analysis, just know I have many more of these on my YouTube channel. So if you like it, you could go and check out more of them. And you could see more and more different types and variations of replay analysis. But what we do here... Why do I have no sound? I think maybe it's just my headset. It is my headset. What we do here is... we're going to basically look at the guy we're inspecting here. We're going to look at his build order. We're going to look at things he does. We're going to find ways that he can improve what he does. And basically, overall, the goal is going to be to help him become a better player. It's like a coaching lesson over a replay. So we can see he's going for a 17 hatch. I approve of this. Totally fine. I'm going to back it up really quick, though, for 1 second. I'm just going to look at the initial. I like that you split your drones, okay? That's sexy as fuck. And I like that you sent your Overlord out really early. But any Zerg out there who wants to get really good at starting off like as good as you can early game, I've said this before a few times, but it's really important to do this.
Yeah.
What you need to do is you need to really pay attention to your mineral line now because there's literally nothing going on. And you just need to, at the very bare minimum, try your best to get the close patches saturated. And close patches would be... These ones are obvious. These two right here. This is also obvious. And this one in the middle is a close patch. And if you're also confused, this would be like, wait, ViBE, how can you tell what's a close patch and what's a far patch right there? How the fuck do you know it's the middle one? If you can't really tell as well by the distance from the hatchery to the mineral line why it's closer, and you're just still kind of confused, if you just click it, the higher mineral patch number, like where it says remaining 1790, that is a close patch. Close patches are all 1800 starting, and far patches all start at 900. So that also tells you what is close and what is far. If you can't tell, if this looks too weird for you, but try your best to get 2 drones on close patches, and we'll see what he does here just for a second. So we have 2 drones on this one already. We have 2 drones on this one already. We have 2 drones on this one already, but we have 1 drone on this one. Overall, the spread has been pretty good. We got 3 out of 4 close patches saturated. And now this drone... Oh, there you go. Perfect. Okay, so cool. Your drone's actually, by default, saturated close patches, which is wonderful. So I can't really, like, you know, I'm not going to really harp on you for this. I can't, because your close patches are saturated. But that is super important to make sure that happens every game, because it massively speeds up your overall build. It helps a lot. It makes your optimal mineral saturation a lot better. And you've sent out one of your 15, 16 drones that spawn out of the 2 eggs at once your Overlord is done. I have no disagreements with this so far. It's good. Yeah, so far your build's fine. And in the first minute of the game, you might be thinking, ViBE, who cares? But it does. It changes the pace of the game quite a bit. It does. Alright, and now we have the gas done. Okay, this is something I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna get a tissue and we're gonna talk about this just briefly. Okay? So here's my opinion on this. That's 2 times now. The first time was when you built the gas. The second time is when you saturated the gas. You slightly altered your optimal saturation from your main mineral line of 16 out of 16 below that, and then you're slowly fixing your saturation when the next drones spawn. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but I would recommend, honestly, this is my recommendation. If you're not going to go for like a speed link timing, you'd be better off going for pool first and then going for a gas after, while maintaining 16 drones on the mineral line the entire time. So what I'm saying is your 17th and your 18th drone could be 17 pool, 18 gas. Okay, and then you could make drones once again 17, 18, 19 because you lose the drones when you build buildings. So your next 17, 18, 19 drones could literally all be rallied into the gas. And then you just maintain full saturation on your mineral line the entire time. And the reason why I think this is important is because if you play defensive, if you're doing a macro opener, which we're going to find out if you will in a minute or not, but if you do a macro opener, you're gonna gain about an extra like 30 or 40 minerals because you do it like this, and then it's going to periodically gain you more minerals every like 10 seconds later, because if you have 30 extra minerals now, and you have a larva just sitting there, and now you're immediately able to spend it, well, now suddenly that drone can make you more money a little bit faster, and then now you maybe have a little bit more money again to now also make your next drone faster while making a queen. And then that drone spawns a little bit faster. It just cascades with little tiny advantages. And then maybe it makes your third base be a little bit faster, which is in turn going to make all the drones at your third a little bit faster. And it makes your economy, like, everything has an effect where each drone, like, it's not like you make a drone once and then that's just it. It's like, oh, I got a drone and now that's it. If you have a guy that makes drones 5 seconds before you make drones, his entire build is going to be faster than you, because that one drone is going to make another drone happen faster, and then that next drone is going to make another drone happen faster, and then it's going to make another one happen faster. It's all going to be faster because all the money is going to, like, your income is going to increase quicker than the other guy who's not optimizing that. So it makes a huge difference. Just throwing it out there. It's really important. Super good. Super important. Alright, now we have a couple of lings in production. This is also another thing I don't agree with. So, here's another thing what I'm saying. We have 3 drones still on gas, and then we just ripped 3 drones off the mineral line to go saturate the natural. I do not agree with this at all. Unless you're doing it all in. But even if you're doing it all in, I don't agree with this at all. There's no reason to undersaturate one of your bases to put more saturation on your other base. You'd be better off just leaving this base at 16 out of 16 and then rallying your main tier natural. This is unnecessary. The only time you should ever transfer drones is if you're oversaturated on your mineral line, or you're taking your drones off of your gas. And if you're not going to all in, if you're not going to all in him, I 100% think you should have just taken your drones off of your gas. So you take your drones off your gas and you just put them back on the mineral line. Might as well, dude. Just take your drones off your gas and put them on. So here, let me explain this. You might as well just take your drones off the gas and then send those down to your natural, because what you just did is you re-fucked up the saturation potentially of your mineral line. Because if, let's just say every drone was 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 on all patches. And now we just ripped 3 drones off and then we put 3 drones back on it again. What could happen is now your drones might split where it's like 2, 2, 2, 3, 1, 1, 3, 2. And it's like, oh, well, now I have inefficient mining because my drones split stupidly. And I'm at this point in the game now, when you have lings out, there's also going to be a Reaper that's probably going to come to your base. And you really don't have the time to be like 2, 2, 2, 2. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be looking at your fucking mineral line at this point now, around 2.5 minutes, and making sure there's 2 per patch. There's other shit you need to worry about that's more important at this point. That should have been something that should have been able to have been done really early. And if you don't disrupt it, it's there the whole game. And it's going to really set the pace later on for everything to be good. You don't really necessarily need to do that for your natural or your third. It's less important because at that point in the game, there's more, like I said, there's more important things to look at. So you've just given yourself a chance to fuck up your main saturation. And if we look at it really quick, let's look and see. There's 2, 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 there's 2. It's split correctly. You are lucky. You're a lucky man. Just in general, though, it makes no sense to rip your drones off the mineral line and then take them off gas and put them back on the mineral line. I recommend not doing that. And I really recommend, whenever you have 16 out of 16, you really should just re-rally to another base. Because if you constantly just build units and put them on the one base and then grab clumps of drones and send them down, that's not very great. Because all you're doing is potentially ruining the saturation over and over. Of optimal saturation of 2 per patch. I don't mind. I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to make sure everyone understands what I'm saying too. I don't mind if you oversaturate a mineral line as well, if the other mineral line is already at 16 as well. And the whole point of what you're doing is you're going to transfer these drones eventually. What if like your opponent's attacking you and you're trying to defend yourself? This music's a little loud. Sorry, I'm going to turn it down just a tad. Like if your opponent is like containing you and you're like, I can't really move out yet, but I will be able to really soon. And you know, and then for that brief moment in time, you're just going to oversaturate your base. That's fucking fine. I don't like, I'm not going to get mad at anyone about that does that or, you know, say it's wrong. But when you clearly have an open base like this that needs to be saturated and you oversaturate this one, this is inefficiency at its finest. Because a drone, just throwing it out there, okay? A drone that is two drones per patch will mine about 1 mineral per second for a drone, okay? A drone mines about 1 mineral per second when it's mining efficiently. And 2 drones per patch is efficient. Now, the shitty thing about having 3 drones on a patch is you still get efficiency, but it's not as good as 1 mineral per second. Once you have 3 drones on a close patch, the 3rd drone probably only mines like 0.25 minerals per second. Like it gets barely any uptime on the mineral line, on the mineral patch before it, you know, the next one takes its place. And, you know, you always have a drone just sitting there for like more than half a second, and then finally it gets to mine. And the other one behind it now, once again, is just sitting there. It makes the efficiency of the 3rd drone really shitty. Now on a far patch, you get a little bit better. I would say it's probably more like 0.6 or something. I don't have exact numbers here, but you get more efficiency on a far patch because there's more distance you have to walk with your drones. And your drone is only sitting there for like probably like 0.4 of a second on average. So a drone shows up and it's waiting for less than half a second, and then it can start mining. Next drone shows up, it's waiting for less than half a second, and then it can start mining. But there is still wait periods. So it's not 1-to-1. It's not 1 mineral per second efficiency, is what I'm trying to say. So if you have oversaturation here, when you have undersaturation here, you're just inefficiently mining with your workers now. It's very important. Yeah, this is not optimal. This is going to fuck you over so hard. I do like that you took your gas again though around this time.
Thank you for the bronze GM series.
Yo, thank you Anon, and thank you very much Brass Monkeys for the prime as well, guys. Much love. Yeah, I like your gas timing again. You're resaturating the gas when you would theoretically be almost fully saturated on your natural if these drones were properly moved. Like if you had, you know, proper saturation going on. But yeah, your gas timing is good. So now at this point, I would say the best thing you could do would be, I don't mind the second gas. Okay, I'll say that right now. If you're we gotta just hold on for a fucking second. Actually, we gotta talk about something really quick. First things first. You have like no Zerglings. You made 4 to deal with the Reaper, but then you made no more Lings after that. You did scout that he went for a natural, but I'm gonna go back a little bit. We were at 355 a second ago. I just want to quickly scout or see what your Overlord scouted after the expansion, because we focused a lot on your economy. Okay, so right now, I would say is a perfect time to throw down like an extra 8 Zerglings or something, or like 10 Zerglings, just to be on the safe side. And the reason why this is important is because you haven't seen a single thing. You haven't seen a single wall unit here. You haven't seen a single single depot is what I'm trying to say. And you haven't seen a single unit besides the Reaper. You don't know anything about what he's doing. He could be going Hellions for all you know. He could be going for Bio. You have no idea. A great thing you can do to kind of give yourself tabs on what he's doing is move your Overlord in. Maybe to like the edge of the ramp to where your Overlord's like right there, and you can just see what he has, what add-on he has on what building. It tells you a lot of information about what's happening. But making like an extra 10 Lings or so that go on top of the Lings you made for the Reaper are great when your speed's almost done, because right now would be the time when if he went Hellions, he would be diving them into your base if he wanted to do that. And if you play a Terran that wants to dive your base and you don't make lings and you're like, I'll just make mass drones. Well, what's going to happen is he's going to kill your 3 lings in one volley of his Hellions, and then he's just going to drive behind your middle line and just kill like 10 drones. And then if you make lings then, while your drones are dying, you're going to be in a situation where it's like, oh, I just lost like 12 drones. The Hellions are dead, but now I have a worker disadvantage because the Terran now has like a 3 worker lead on me because I still made a bunch of lings that I was going to make either way. But now my drones are dead and I made them at the wrong time though. It's just like waste your larva at that point. So I highly recommend making lings at this point. There's only one exception to this. The only time I would say you don't necessarily need to make lings right now and you'd be okay with just the 3 is if you 100% confirmed that this guy was doing like a 2-1-1 build. It's the only time. Because if he's doing like a 2-1-1 build and he's going to wait for Medivacs, that means you have time to squeeze out greedy drones and make lings a little bit later, and you're fine. And you could use your lings you have right now to go scout and look at like his thirds or maybe poking it out of his base here and there. Stuff like that. Because he won't attack you probably till around 5 minutes. But if he has any type of a factory opener, you are very risky not making any lings at this point. And there's no reason why you got speed if you're not going to make lings either. It makes no sense if you get speed then. So if you're going to get speed for a defensive opener, make seriously like 10 lings when your speed is around 65 seconds of the way done. Like how much larva do you have right now? You have 5. This would be perfect. Your 5 larva right now could be 5 larva of lings and you'd be perfect. But you're still making drones. Alright, we're pretty much back at where we were before I backed it up. And now we're going to see a cyclone. In a second. Okay. So now this right here is a bit weird. If you see a barracks flying, you saw a marine for like half a second, but you see a barracks flying, you see a cyclone, and you see an engineering bay. There's a few things that this could mean to you. You might be thinking to yourself, oh, he might be making the engineering bay because he might be wanting to go bio. I mean, he wants to get upgrades. But just throwing this out there, you also need an engineering bay to make a planetary fortress. And you also need an engineering bay to make missile turrets. So it not only is it for bio upgrades, but it's also for static D, for Terran. And he made a fucking cyclone, and he's also floating the barracks. If I saw this, I would think to myself, okay, I really need to quickly scout the map really fast, like on the sides of it. And once I scout and confirm there's no hidden bases anywhere, I'll just leave a ling right there. And I'll leave a ling right there. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because this makes me think this guy is going for Mech already, because he's floating the fucking barracks. And he's dedicated his resources to his cyclone already. It would make me think he's going to go Mech, and this is going to be for a planetary. So the last thing you want to do is let him just squeeze out some free fucking planetary on you. And at this point now as well, I would highly recommend getting a Roach Warren, which you're doing. I like that a lot. Saturating the second gas would be great. You scouted his base. You saw... Did you actually click his buildings? I want to see if you clicked his buildings. I can tell if you click his buildings by what your circle's on. Let's see what you scout. Okay, so you didn't click his buildings. That's okay. It's not the worst, but it's definitely worth your while to click his buildings. When you go into his base, just try your best to take it. Like, I know you're probably busy doing a lot of stuff at home. You're macroing and all that stuff. But it's very, very important to get a read, because this can either win or lose the game for you sometimes, depending on how you react to things. But if you just are in his base and you just click it really quick and you go like, factory, factory, you can assume he's already going Mech, but now you just confirmed it. Like, this is not bio anymore. This is Mech. But what he did so far as an opener, he still could have gone bio. It's not a guarantee he has to go Mech. A lot of people do weird ass openers and then turn it into something. But this confirms it, that he is going Mech. And also, if I were you and I were to see this, okay, this is how I would look at this, right? If I were you and I went, okay, we got a Terran going factory, factory. There's already a cyclone on the map, which means there's a third factory right there with not engineering bay. There's a third factory here with the tech lab probably, and if we look at all vision, there it is. Like, you'd have to ask yourself, how the fuck can you have a cyclone already, you know? You know what I mean? There's a third factory, and it's got a tech lab on it, because the tech lab is required to make a cyclone. So we know that's 3 factories, bare minimum, that we have going on right now, and there's a reactor on a starport. If this was me and I saw this, I would literally tell myself, alright, this guy is 100% going Cyclone Hellion Liberator. That's what I would think. Because you can make Liberators off of a reactor, and there's no reason why he should get a reactor instead of a tech lab if he's not going to go for Liberators. Like, there's no reason to make Vikings in mass numbers right now, and there's also no reason to make a lot of medevacs right now. I would say that the one that could potentially be made is a medevac, because what if, like, he wants to make 1 round of medevacs, and then he wants to have 2 medevacs of, like, Hellions going to your main and kill your drones or something? Maybe. But realistically, I'm expecting this to be, like, Liberator production. That's what I would assume. So if I were you, the way I would react to that is I would drone your ass off like you are, which is, you're now that you've confirmed he's going mech, I'm 100% on board with you going drone crazy. Because you have a little bit of time now to react to with this current version of this game, you can totally be greedy and get away with it. If this, however, had been a Hellion reactor opener rather than a Tech Lab Cyclone opener, I would have said your lings are a little bit late. Otherwise, perfect. But yeah. I would say you need to make roaches right now, and I think it would be a great idea to also make an infestation pit and also a spire behind this. We'll keep going and we'll see how you go. But Roach Warren's amazing against Hellion Cyclone. And Infestation Pit's amazing if he just masses Hellion Cyclone, and then you can just get 1 juicy fungal on it and kill it all. And Spire is amazing because it gives you the ability and the utility in your army to switch into mutas if it seems appropriate. And when it would seem appropriate is if this guy actually somehow decided, you know what, no, I'm going to go mass fucking tanks now. Mutas would be amazing at that point. But at the very least, it also gives you the ability to make Corruptors against the Liberators, and it also can make you go into Brood Lords as well. You can just go Broods eventually. Broods are like God mode against a mech. But yeah, that's I feel like seeing this, you can already safely assume he's going Hellion Cyclone Liberator. Like, that's like pretty big tell that he's doing that. I like your drones. I would love it if you took a 4th base right now as well. Honestly, dude, I'm not gonna lie. So far, watching this game, your biggest problem is that you never re-rally your hatcheries. That is your by far your biggest problem. 24 drones on your main. You've just now resaturated your natural properly because the Liberator kind of killed some drones there. Your 3rd is 6. This main is so fucking oversaturated. Your 3rd is so undersaturated, and we'll see how long it takes you to fix that. But the thing that sucks for you is you're constantly putting yourself in a position where you're gonna have to fix it again and again and again and again all game because you're not re-rallying your shit. Once you rally a base fully, rally all your hatcheries to the next base, and then once this base is fully saturated, rally all your hatcheries to the next base. The way I do it is like this, okay? This is the way I do it. I make a main, I make a natural, I make a 3rd. Main is always fully saturated by the time the natural's done. It's just how it works. I will always re-rally my main to my natural will be to my natural, and my 3rd will be to my 3rd. And you might ask yourself, why is that like that, ViBE? Because my 3rd is undersaturated and my natural is undersaturated. So I'm making the least travel distance possible for all my drones. I'm not going to be like, hey drones, all of you run back here, saturate this base, and then once this is done, now we can start going all the way back here again. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I might as well just have this base rally to this base, so it'll saturate in the time where it's like, let's say it goes from 1 to 5 drones, and the time that this base can go from 1 to 15 drones off of 2 hatcheries. And more time being invested into it. Does that make sense? Like, you just keep rallying in order, and then by the time you get 3 bases saturated, it's really easy at that point because you can have enough larvae to make full saturation of any base you want with 1 round of larvae, with an inject and stuff like that. But just, yeah, fix your rally points. Super important. This sucks so bad. It's still oversaturated. And like you say, you pulled some drones off, but it's still super saturated. And this one's now fully saturated at least. All your bases are fully saturated now, which is good. And you have now fixed your rally points. Just do, you have the right idea now. Just do it a little sooner. Because you could get to the point that you're at now a little bit faster. But I will say this, okay? I do have a gauge here where I rate somebody with saturation if you're going to play a macro game. And out of the way you played this is you fully saturated. You're still not saturating properly yet. You have 28 drones on the middle line and you have no gas saturated. You have 15 on this one, which you're under by 1. And you're over by 3 on this one. Overall, though, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say you're fully saturated. And I think you hit this around like just a couple seconds ago. Like 645 to 650. We'll say 640 because your drones are currently transferring and shit. We'll say 640 is your saturation timing. And the way I kind of gauge people is if you can get saturated bases fully all running by 630, you're capable of being a GM in terms of macro of your first opening of 3 bases. In terms of just the economy. If every 10 seconds that goes by, you drop it down by a league. And we're talking 640 now, so I would say out of what you've done, this is like master's level macro in terms of just saturating your bases properly and not fucking around with other units all day. But the one thing to keep in mind though is you did take a massive risk because this guy did go mech and you made no lings early, so that's a big chance to lose the game there. And you also saturated poorly with how you moved your drones around. If you fix those 2 things, suddenly your saturation or your proper saturation means that your economy speeds up. You're making lings to be safe means your economy slows down. But you're safe now and you don't have this risk of just dying. But even though your economy slows down from making lings when I was telling you to make them just before speed's done, if you saturate your economy properly, it will still be even faster than what you did even with this when you played really greedy and made like no lings for a longest time. You can honestly even get your bases fully saturated before 630. But 630 is like the respectable time of like you could totally be GM with that kind of a timing. So it's like it's very respectable. But yeah, your economy is honestly not bad. It just needs some sprucing. I just bit my lip. Your economy needs some sprucing up a little bit. Oh, mouth is so dry, dude. Like, once again, look at this. This drives me crazy. If you don't play with numbers, by the way, you said, I think you said you're coming back from a long time break or something. You said you're back from like 5 to 6 years ago. Just know, if you go to options, gameplay, show worker status, notice how it doesn't have numbers. And I take that off. Unless you mouse over it. But now if you go to options again, gameplay, show worker status, turn that on, suddenly it gives you this. It's so easy in Legacy of the Void to have proper saturation if you just use this command. It tells you the whole fucking time what you should be having. Instead of back in the day, you always had to like green box it and be like, all right, we're a little over. You had to eyeball it all the time and shit. But it's way easier now to properly saturate. And 2 drones per patch is maximum optimal saturation. Even though it could go above that, it's not optimal though. If you have the ability to have another base being saturated like this, having 5 drones leave this base, having 1 drone be added to this base, and having 7 drones leave this base is optimal. Super optimal. Because you could drop, what is that? That's 12 drones in total you're oversaturated with, and you could drop 1 here and then have 11 go here, and you'd be at 16 out of 16 on every single base. That's so fucking what you would be mining right now. You're mining about 3K. You'd be mining like probably 3,400 right now if you had it optimal. Like 33, 34. Alright, I think I've talked about your economy enough. We'll talk about your other stuff now. Your creep is... I would say your creep is a little under par. Like, I'm actually gonna just back it up like 1 minute, and I want to watch your perspective, and I want to just see kind of what you're doing. Okay, so from what I can see, you're dude, you're top tier on injecting your bases. Yeah, you injected your bases like 4 times there in the course of like 49 seconds. And that's totally fine to do that, by the way. It means you're repetitiously hitting them, and not every time you're going to be able to inject. Sometimes you'll be like, let's inject. Oh, wait, I don't have enough energy. But that is so much better than going, oh, I haven't injected in like 2 minutes. I have like 160 energy on my queen now. Let's inject a lot all at once to spend it all. Okay, we're good. Like, the way you're doing it is much better. But I think that, like, if you get more comfortable with rallying your bases properly, and you just like, you can slam out drones all day and rally your bases to the next one and to the next one. And when you make an army, when you're defensive, split your army. Okay? Like, if you have your army, like, a bunch of Roach Hydra, okay? Just have, like, some of your army sitting right here, and have some of your army sitting, like, right here. And then literally don't even worry about it. Or you maybe even have a tiny bit of your army sitting up here. And then focus the rest of your time, when you're not injecting, and you're not really controlling your army at all, because your army will automatically defend you from harass at that point. That's the beautiful thing about spreading your army when the game is defensive, is you can be AFK and your army defends you from harass. You can then take your time to be like, all right, overlords, let's go fill in the gaps where I'm not going to get surprised by drops. Creep timbers, let's focus on spreading it so I can be further across the map faster, so I can be safer with this like spider web of detection, or like, you know, like map awareness that I can have, where if the Terran moves out ever, I'm going to see it. And then if you ever have a moment to spare, it also would be an amazing idea, especially since you have an overseer, to shit out a couple of changelings now, because you don't really need to use zerglings now if you have overseers. Have a couple of changelings go to his thirds. I notice a lot of people when I coach them, they literally don't ever pay attention to when their opponents expand. And if you know when your opponent expands, it tells you so much more about if it's safe to take drones or not. Here's an example, okay? Here's an example. There is one golden rule for Zerg, and it is try your best to stay 1 base of economy ahead of your opponent throughout the starting phases of the game. So if your opponent's going to do a 1 base all into you, you could very well have 2 bases saturated and defend that. If your opponent's going to do a 2 base all into you, you could very well have 3 bases saturated and defend that. Etc, etc, etc. You just want to stay 1 base ahead of your opponent up to a point where you have like, once you get to like 80 drones, you're fucking good. You don't got to worry about it anymore. The whole rule becomes irrelevant. You have like 80 drones. You're solid. But you don't know, if you don't ever scout his expansions, if he does have a base or not. So if you have a changeling, for instance, to go shit it out and just send a changeling here and a changeling over here, and you're like, oh look, the Terran has a third, and like 10 SCVs are like rallying down, and they're coming into the base. Well, you could know, you 100%, you could be confident then if you're like, hey drones, 4th base, let's saturate it. You're not gonna die. You're not going to die if you saturate a 4th base then. You're going to do it, like, safely. But if you don't know that, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck's happening. I haven't scouted him in the last, like, fucking 4 minutes. And you're like, let's saturate a 4th base. And he's doing a 2 base all into you. Suddenly you're like, shit, I just made drones, and he's pushing me right now, right after I made drones, and I'm going to die. Yo, Jason, what's up, man? I hope you had a good stream. Thank you very much for the host, dude. I'm doing a replay analysis right now, guys. But welcome to the stream. Thank you, man. Much love, dude. Much love, much love. But yeah, Mr. Int. I highly recommend scouting the expansions. It's going to be super helpful for you, in general. And then from here, I like that you're doing the right ideas with your buildings too, and you have a hive. You've now seen a expansion. Okay, so what just happened there is not the worst scenario ever. Like, a lot of people probably look at that and be like, what the fuck was that? What was that? Oh my god. But, like, let's be real. Roach Hydra is not that expensive, especially if you're working with 82 drones. Your economy is ballin'. I don't think you saturate super properly a lot. Like, I think you definitely need to take more time to make sure this is running properly. Like, this is your biggest weakness of all. But yeah, you can totally make another one and you're fine. I think a general rule for you as well should be you should try your best. The second you realize, okay, my main's starting to mine out, if your goal is to go for 4 base saturation, you want to make 1 base extra every time one of your current bases starts mining out, okay? So if you're taking this game really patient, which is what you should be doing, you should be chilling. You shouldn't be... There's 2 ways to look at the game, and the wrong way to look at the game for you right now would be like this, okay? This is the wrong way that you would look at the game. All right, I'm going to set up an attack over here. I'm going to do a pincer move over here. I'm also going to send an Overlord in down here, and I'm going to do a Drop Lord attack. Maybe even a Nidus. And then I'm going to set up another attack over here that's going to follow in right after, and it's going to hit the natural when I'm keeping him busy in his third. And then I'm going to try and bring Vipers in, and I'm going to try and Blinding Cloud everything, and maybe abduct some shit. And I'm going to try and do this super fucking technical attack that I probably will just botch super hard. You know, like, if you think about the game like that, which I think a lot of people do, that's wrong. Do not think about the game like that. Because you're putting the game in your opponent's hands way too hard then, especially if you're lower league. What you should be doing is you should be going, all right, every time one of my bases mines out, I'm just going to take another one. And I'm going to make sure my economy continuously runs great. And I'm just going to fucking plow my opponent over with just mass swarms of units. I'm just going to be like, yep, here we go. Just fucking remax, attack, remax, attack. Let me just check my economies. We're good to go. But you're really not. So that's something you should be fixing. So you should have like another base here or something and fixing that. And, you know, keeping it all super good. Because if you were to max out again right now with Roach Hydra and you attacked and you lost your army again, but let's say you killed a few units in the process. Again, it's not the worst case in the world because you would, if you did your economy right now, you would be on 5 bases versus a Terran who's on like essentially 3. This is not an orbital command. This is a planetary. So the economy is, you know, kind of shittier than it should be. If a Terran ever expands to like one of his first 3 bases with a planetary, that's not that scary for you in terms of the economy race. Like, you're going to be ahead. The only thing that's not in your favor right now is you haven't ever scouted this. And as you notice, he has one. This is why I also tell you it's really important to scout him. Because you actually don't know the kind of situation you're in. Like, I didn't even know he was in that either because I'm looking at your perspective. But that's a chance, right? I have not seen you scout this base in seriously the fucking longest time. And attacking a planetary when you don't know there's a juicy orbital that can be smacked right next to it, that's obviously like not the best location to attack at. So that's also another reason. And also, it gives you a better gauge as to what position you're actually in the game. This is why I really stress really hard scouting your opponent's expansions. Because you have no idea that he has this base. And if now, because he has 4 bases and it's not 3 bases, now if you're the guy that continues to remax his Roach Hydra and you just attack a planetary, and you're taking trades that look like this, where you're just bleeding out almost twice as much as he is, you're going to lose the game. So you really need to do your best to figure out how many bases he's on, just at the bare minimum. And if you knew he was on 4 bases, the best course of action right now would be, okay, the Terran's being kind of turtly now. He's got a lot of tanks spread out all over the place, and he's on 4 bases. I have a Greater Spire on the way. I'm just going to go Brood Lords. I would really approve of that decision and this current situation of the game for you. And you're also tied on the bases with Terran now, which is why it's even more reason why you really need to have a 5th already started. But you don't know that you're tied on bases with him. So that's something to work on. Try your best to scout with either 1 Zergling at a time or like a Changeling, and just literally look at his current next possible expansions. The best way you could deal with this is to be patient and make broods. So if you attack before your broods are done, you're gonna probably get destroyed here. You need to just try your best to just feel not pressured here. Like, you can push forward, make him siege, and then back up before you actually get hit by siege. Like, backing up now would be great. And then if he pushes up here again, you can push again. Once you have broods, though, it'll become a lot more realistic for you to stop this. I like that your idea is to go brood lords. But also, you got to keep in mind too. I think you're kind of panicking right now. Look at production. Right. Okay, this is perfect. Look, I just want you to look at the production really fast. And I'm going to tell you right now, the best course of action for you would be, you have 2 corruptors already done, and you have 4 corruptors on the way. Turning all these existing corruptors that you're about to have into broodlords would be the best thing you could do, and making zerglings with your excess minerals, if because you're going to get more minerals than you mine gas per minute here. It's just how it works. If you're not like mined out of your bases, making zerglings as your excess would be way better here than making roaches, and I think you make a lot of roaches here, because it's going to Greater Spire isn't done. It's fine. It's not a big deal. You just wait on it. You have to just like kind of. This is the best way to do it. Okay. You shove forward. The Terran sieges. You back up. This is fucking Diamond League. This guy is not going to be leapfrogging one tank at a time like super optimally. He's most likely going to siege everything at once, and he's going to chill for a second, being like, "You gonna hit me, bro? You gonna hit me? Come on!" And then he's going to unsiege, and when he unsieges, because you can see him with creep when he moves forward and shit, you run at him again. You make him siege, and you back up. You waste his time. You don't look for a fucking fight. You just waste his fucking time. And then you make broodlords, because if you keep shoving forward and losing like 4 or 5 roaches, backing up, and you're like, let's make more roaches, it defeats the purpose. Roaches fucking suck in this situation now. Roaches got you to the point where your economy looks like that. They did their job already. Now their time is over. You don't want to be making roaches anymore. They're awful late game. So he sieged. You can chill the fuck out now. All of his tanks are sieged. He is giving you second after second after second just chilling here. He moves into your third with his cyclones. I agree with your decision to come down here and defend it. You get a nice fungal on a couple of his cyclones. You kill a few of them. Definitely shouldn't really chase too far. I like that you're backing up, because the further you chase a Terran, the more likely you're going to dive into a tank spread. Now look, the Greater Spire is done, and look at these tanks, guys. They haven't even fucking moved. These tanks have not moved for like 25 seconds. Now, imagine if we weren't still making roaches, and we were instead just making, and we weren't making Ravagers, and instead we were just spending all of our gases on Broodlords now. To be fair, you only made 2 roaches. I can't really get too mad at you about that. I thought you made a lot more than that. But you're making roaches again. Okay, this is... I think this is what I saw. I remember I thought I saw you make a lot of roaches after you have the ability to go broodlords. This is a massive mistake. 100%. This should be zerglings. And this should also, all of your gas should be into going into faster and faster broodlords, more of them. You want to get up to like 8 broodlords as quick as you can right now, or like 12 even. And then you can make Vikings, you can make corruptors also behind that. For the Vikings, you already have infestors. For now, you could fungal his Vikings if he engages you and stuff, or fungal his cyclones and shit if he just tries to dive into you. But broods are super important here. They're super good. These roaches are a waste of your gas. Once you get to Broodlords, never make another roach again. Ever. Like, literally, ever. Like, it's very rare that the situation would ever be, like, good for roaches. Once you have access to Broodlords. Really quick, just look at this. This is my point, okay? Watch this. In the units, in the production tab, we have 13 roaches, okay? That's one roach that just died. Well, just look at your units tab currently. So one roach has already died. You have 19 currently. Let's just look at how many roaches die here. I'll just erase the one. It's not a big deal. Who cares about the one roach now? Okay, you have 32 roaches now. We'll start from 32. 32 roaches. Okay, just to kill the tanks in front of your base, your roach count went from 32 to 11. So my point is that's 21 roaches of resources that could have been dedicated into Broodlords that literally could have killed the tanks that were there. There was like 6 tanks. Your Broodlords could have killed those tanks and lost 0. 0. Like, nothing would have even been damaged. That's Spinecrawler reach. Yeah, what the fuck? God damn, dude. I've never seen that. It's kind of a spine before. Holy shit, where is it going, dude? Can't even see. It goes off the screen. Alright. Anyways. Yeah. My point is, yeah, it's the roaches fucking suck. So don't ever make them when you have Broodlords. Make Zerglings instead. Imagine if these were all pretty much, you had, let's just say, instead of having 2 Broodlords and 9 Corruptor, you have like 3 Corruptor and 8 Broodlords. Like, you would just crush this army, no problem. It was only like 2 Vikings, a Thor, and a bunch of Hellion Cyclone tank. You would smash this army with that. And now, instead, what's happening is you don't really have enough Broodlords, and now the Cyclones are becoming a serious problem for you because they're locking onto your shit. And now, ultimately, what's going to happen because of that is you're going to lose this base. And you're making more roaches again. You're panicking right now is what it looks like. I'm gonna say it one more time and then I'll move on, unless I see you make roaches again. Roaches are only to get your economy saturated properly because they're good at being larva efficient early game. Yeah, this is so bad. Roaches are really good at being larva efficient early game, which means you can spin a lot more of your larva on drones. And roaches are very durable early game, so they can deal with a lot of different types of pressure builds that your opponent can do. So they're just good at helping you get a really solid economy really early. Especially against Hellion Cyclone. But once you have the economy saturated, and once you have now established yourself into Hive Tech and Broodlords, literally, you could honestly kill your own Roach Warren, and then it wouldn't fucking matter. Like, this building should not be used anymore. Especially if you're trying to make broods. Like, the roaches and broodlords serve the same, they do the same purpose. They have the same role in a fight. They're frontline damage. But the difference is a broodlord does the same job as a roach does, but it does it like 100 times better. The only downside to a broodlord over a roach is the fact that it's slow. Which is why it's important to have good creep spread, because then you don't get surprised like this. Look at all your roaches just like walk in and die though. Like, roaches suck. It's not even like I'm saying, like, oh, your micro's bad. It's that this unit sucks ass when your opponent gets above, like, 150 supply. And you're making roaches again. I'm just gonna throw it out there. If you had not made any of these roaches like you did, and all of that economy went into Zergling, Corruptor, Broodlord, your army right now could be something like this. You could have probably like 12 Broodlords now, because you wouldn't have lost the Broodlords as well that you already have lost, because you would have had, like, you've lost some of your air already to previous fights because you didn't have enough of it, and then you overmade roaches and you lost all your roaches basically, and now you're making more roaches. If you just made more air and no roaches at all, right now you could probably have like 12 Corruptors and like 12 Broodlords. And 12 Corruptor and 12 Broodlord could have easily crushed this army. Not even a problem. Easy. Easy peasy. And then you're going to have a lot of excess minerals if you play like that, though, because that's super gas expensive. So if you also made Zerglings, like if you just spend your extra larva and your extra money on Zergling, you don't even need to use the Zerglings in the fight. You could just be like, hey, Lings, go attack his base. And you could be like, hey, Lings, go run into his natural. Lings, go run into his main. Lings, go check for a 4th base or a 5th base. Because you actually only see his 3 bases still. You don't know if he has a 4th or a 5th or a 6th. Actually, you know, you 100% know he doesn't have a 6th because you see this here with your Atchery, and you actually have this scouted with an Overlord. So it's impossible for there to be 6 bases. But he could be on 5, which he is, but you don't know that. So having Lings figure that out and go, oh, look. Like if you ran a couple Lings down here and you were like, oh, look at this base. It's an orbital command that is defended by 2 siege tanks. What if you run 40 Lings down here and you just wrap around both tanks die, and now his entire mineral line dies. And this mineral line is 20 SCVs in total here, between 3 gas, 14 mineral. Look at his economy tab in total. If you killed 20 SCVs, that is a major chunk of his economy. It's huge. You would fuck it up pretty bad. Like, it would be a major hiccup. If you did the same thing to his natural, this is another 17 SCVs that would die, which is also, once again, pretty huge. If you got into his main, this is another 9 SCVs that would die. It's not as big, but what if you also kill armories now? What if you kill add-ons? Because his army is so committed out here, and this army cannot beat Broodlords. This army is a piece of crap against Broodlords. This is so Hellion heavy, with quite a bit of tanks, and it has 11 Cyclones. But the thing about Cyclones is they will get absolutely fucking dumpstered by a couple of Infestors fungling them, with Broodlords shooting them, with tanks also shooting them, because the tanks will be shooting Broodlings. Like, it would just be so good for you if you optimize that more. Roaches are just fucking you over so bad right now. Like, your roaches are killing 1 or 2 Hellbats and then they all die. Like, check this out. Look at this. This is gonna... I'm really glad you made some more broods, because this is going to definitely prove my point. You have 7 Broodlords right here. 7 Broodlords is honestly enough to fuck this army up, as long as you don't move command. As long as you don't move command, you will crush this army if he fights it. With this Broodlord count. You're move commanding a lot. Okay, so the optimal way to micro Broodlords as well, just throwing it out there. Notice how your Broodlords, okay, watch. I just want you to watch the Broodlords one more time. So the way you're microing Broodlords is you're right-clicking a location and then you're just letting them be. You're like, go there and fucking forget about it. Broodlords, you're gonna go do your thing. Watch. Right? So right now you're on A move. I agree with A move right now. The A move is gonna shoot whatever's closest to it. That's gonna be shot. It's gonna end up being the siege tank, pretty much. I agree that you backed up right now. But the way you should micro this right now is look at your Broodlords, okay? I just want you to pay attention to this. This Broodlord has 2 Broodlings. This Broodlord, like, it's really hard to tell, but there's 4 Broodlings here, 2 here, 2 here. These are part of a Broodlord that just shot a second ago. 2 here, 1 here. There's another broodling right there inside of that shit in the middle. My point is you have 7 broodlords, and I can count 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's 2 broodlings per broodlord, which means I'm going to throw some numbers at you really fast. A broodlord will do, each one of these broodlings does 20 damage when it gets shot by a broodlord, and a broodlord will shoot 2 at once if it has waited 2 times over its attack cooldown. Which means if a broodlord waits 3.48 or 58, if a broodlord waits 3.58 seconds before, and if it's shot and then 3.58 seconds goes by, it now has 2 broodlings. It takes its attack cooldown to recharge 1 broodling at a time. And you have 14, so they're all ready to go. They're all ready to shoot 2 broodlings at a time. So each broodlord does 40 fucking damage per shot. You want to maximize this as much as you can, not only because that 40 damage per broodlord is massive, but also because if you shoot his army with a lot of broodlings right now, he is still sieged, and you will make his own tanks splash the fucking hell out of his own army. And a Cyclone only has 120 hit points, and a tank does 75 damage to armored. It's not going to do the full 75 if it's splashing the Cyclone. It's not directly hitting the Cyclone, but it's still going to do a good chunk of that, like probably like 40 or something. It's going to do a shitload. So the best way to micro this right now, right when he's chasing you and you're pulling back, would be this. Broodlords are currently selected, and you go like this. He's chasing me. I'm currently telling my broodlords to move back this way. While I'm going to move back this way, I'm going to literally hit A click on the ground right here. Like, it could be right here. It doesn't matter. A click the ground. And then like 1 second later, or like half a second later, move command again. And he's still chasing you. A click the ground again. And then move command again, like half a second later. But you're not doing that at all. You're just move commanding, and your broodlords are like just going. And then they slowly come to a stop. And then once they stop, then they shoot back. But you're taking so much free damage in the process when you do it like that. Just watch. Notice how every time you attack the broodlords, it's because they came to a stop. Like, because they got to their location they were moving to. Your broodlords attacked 2 times, and the time that 4 out of 7 of them died. You could have attacked a lot more efficiently than that, and you could maximize your broodlords way more, because the thing about a broodlord is if you attack, I'm gonna explain this in another way. A broodlord has momentum, okay? Acceleration and momentum are 2 different things, all right? I want you guys to imagine a car. Think about a car that can go 100 miles an hour, okay? And let's say 100 miles an hour is fast. Let's just give you an example, okay? A car can go 100 miles an hour. And you have one car that can go from 0 to 100 miles an hour in 3 seconds or 4 seconds. It's super fucking fast. It's like super quick. But then you have another car that can ramp up to 100 miles an hour in 30 seconds. It like takes, it's like its acceleration is fucking terrible. It can still get there. It can still get moving pretty decent speeds, but its acceleration is super fucking awful. Okay? That's kind of like, even though a broodlord moves slow, it's kind of like a broodlord though, because a broodlord's acceleration is so fucking bad. It's like, okay, let's start moving a little bit faster now. So the last thing you want to do to your broodlord is let it come to a complete stop. That's the worst thing you can do with your broodlords, is be like, yeah, you guys can just fucking stop, chill out for a while when I'm in the middle of a fight. The only time you should ever have your broodlord stopped when you're in the middle of a fight is if you're aggressive. If you're the one that's like taking massive sweet damage trades because your opponent is getting picked apart by all your broodlords just raining hell down on the fucking enemy units, that's fucking fine. That's totally fine. If like you're winning the fight really hard and you're just all your broodlords are attacking on attack cooldown, you're doing great. But if you're going to kite, which is what this exactly was, this was a kite situation, don't ever fucking stop your broodlords. You run away from him and then you attack the ground And if there are enemy units within the attack range of a Broodlord, it does not matter if you attack the ground over here, over here, over here, over here. It does not fucking matter where you do it. A Broodlord will attack the closest unit to it if there are units currently within aggro range of it, if you tell it to attack the ground anywhere. So to make your life easy, if you're kiting your Broodlords backwards, you can tell them to attack the ground here and then move command it just like half a second later. And what'll happen is your Broodlords will turn around. When you tell them to attack the ground, they'll turn around. They'll shit Broodlings all over the place. Okay, they'll shoot Broodlings all over. And then you immediately tell them to turn around again. And as the Broodlings fly out of their ass, basically, they're already running away. And now the Terran is getting smacked by a bunch of Broodlings while you're already continuously putting distance between his units and your units. And the more optimally you do this, the more damage you can get off on his units again and again and again, especially if his tanks are still sieged. So again, right now, this would be like back up, attack, move, move. Attack, move, move. Attack, move, move. Like, your Broodlords are just like chilling too much. If your Broodlords didn't stop for so long there, he would not have made all these lock-ons. And the shitty thing about Cyclone versus Broodlord is a Cyclone can kill a Broodlord in, what is that? 6 hits? Yeah, it's 6 hits. 6 fucking missiles from a Cyclone kills a Broodlord, and it shoots a missile seriously like every fucking like 0.5 seconds almost. Or like 0.7 or some shit. It's pretty fast. No, Rob, I'm gonna pass for now. So, yeah. Something to work on. And just keep in mind too, if you're like, dude, I'm really bad at microing Broodlords, you also could have A-moved that army and you would have won if you just had more of them. And if you just didn't make the roaches. So out of the 2 things I just told you, 1 is the micro Broodlords and 2 is making Broodlords in general and not making roaches. The not making roaches thing is way more important. It really is. You're too obsessed with the ground. This is awful against Mech. Like, Ravager, Roach, all these types of things, they suck ass against Mech when it's a ground-based Mech player. Because the whole point of... This is why, okay? Let me try and explain this in a really simple way. Playing like this, if you're going to go Roach, Ravager, really aggressive like that, you might as well not even get a Spire and not even get a Hive. And you might as well max out way sooner and do these kinds of attacks like 10 minutes ago or like 8 minutes ago. Like, you want to keep your opponent low on supply. You should if you go ground, okay, against Mech, you should feel like if your opponent is ever matching your supply, you're losing the game. So if you're just doing it when your opponent's already maxed out, you're like, ah, fuck it, let's make some Roach Ravager. It falls into that territory where if your opponent is matching your supply, you're losing the game. Which is why you're getting dominated in every fight. Because it just fucking... This just sucks against a lot of tanks. The whole way this works is when you keep the Terran's economy low and you keep his unit count low. If you're like, well, the Terran only really ever has like 6 tanks max at a time because I keep fucking killing tanks left and right. And he never has like really much economy going on because I don't ever let him expand because I keep continuously overpowering his expansion every time he tries to take it. Then that would be totally cool to go Roach Ravager. It's a different kind of playstyle, but it would be viable then. But once you have Broodlords, you're just fucking yourself over so bad by continuously making ground army after ground army after ground army. Broods are so good. If you like, there's like multiple times this game where I feel like you could have won if you just made Broods. Like enough of them. Like 12 is good Broodlord count. You keep having like 7 was your peak. You're making roaches again. Yeah, you're definitely dead. You're falling into the same trap over and over and over. I've already explained it, so I don't have to keep re-explaining it, but going roaches is just a trap. Like, going ground units is a trap at this point. There's really no coming back from it now. You're pretty dead. Just make more Broodlord. Stages of the game like this, you really just try it. Just make more Broods. Make like 12 Broodlord. Make like 12 Broodlord and 16 Corruptor. And just watch how that goes. And if you're like, you know what, I fucking hate using Infestors vibe. Well then don't make any Infestors at all. And instead of making 12 Broodlord, make 16 Broodlord. And instead of making 16 Corruptor, make like 24 Corruptor. Seriously, just make 16 Corruptor, or make 16 Broodlord and 24 Corruptor, and that's it. If you don't want to use Infestor. And watch how much more effective you're going to fight against Mech just with that alone. Infestors are very good though. But yeah. You just have to really tell yourself that, I'm just going to recap this whole game for you really fast. A couple of key points, okay? I'm going to give you 3 major things to work on. That I think that are the biggest things that stood out to me when I watched your play. That will probably help you the most. Number 1, fix your economy. Stop letting your shit oversaturate super hard and do that thing I said with the whole, if you go to options, gameplay, turn on always show worker status, make sure that's on. And make sure you're not having like 6 drones on this base and like 22 on this base. And try your best never to undersaturate your main from 16 once you get it there. It'll help you out a lot. Like your saturation was like in terms of timing when you hit like your full 3 base potential drone saturation was good, but it could be more optimal for sure. It just could be better. There's some easy things to fix there for you. The second thing would be you really need to work on your scouting a little bit more with just looking at his base counts, because seeing the fact that you scouted with his natural with your Overlord and shit, that was great, but you're never ever keeping tabs on anything beyond that. Like you don't know if he's on a 3rd, you don't know if he's on a 4th. You're pretty blind going through the game, and you need to figure that out. You need to just have some type of a scout there. Like it could literally just be a Zergling, which is 25 minerals. It's super cheap. And just go, okay, well, he actually has a 3rd that's being saturated right now, where I'm going to, you know, match that with my golden rule of Zerg, and I'm going to keep a base ahead of you, yada, 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 whatever. And lastly, you just need to kind of like fine-tune your comp. If you want to go ground army, it is viable against Mech, but it is only viable early if you can break Mech down before it maxes out. Ground units like Roach, Hydra, Ravager, shit like that, it works wonderful if you're aggressive as fuck as Zerg. Like, you could saturate 4 bases and then literally just non-stop attack. And you try to find the weakest location the Terran has and abuse that again and again and again. Like, when you attack the planetary, it would have been smarter if you attacked the orbital, for instance. And if you're going to be aggressive with ground units, you should scout before you attack to figure out what should be attacked and not just blindly send shit to his base. So figuring out your composition is important. Ground units are great if you're aggressive. If you're going to be defensive into a greater spire, ground units are a transition then. The only ground unit you should make after you have access to a greater spire is a Zergling. Because Zerglings are super cheap, and their whole purpose of a Zergling's life is to kill SCVs. In terms of, like, you know, aggressive attacking units. Like, Infestors could be made at whenever you want if you like them. They're amazing units. I love them. But for diamond level, they're not required. You can totally win without them. But yeah, it's up to you if you want to use them or not. The higher level you get, though, you will start needing them for sure. And yeah, man. Rely more on your Broodlords. For sure. If you're going to go Broodlords. It's really, really, really good. It's like you gave yourself, like, the golden ticket to win the game, but you never really used it. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for replay analysis. Int, I hope this helped you out, man. And anyone else who watched, I hope you guys learned something. But yeah, if you guys liked it, go check out more of my videos. I have a lot of these on my channel. I do stream, a lot. I stream 6 days a week, and I do these sometimes live stream. Like, I always do these on live stream, then I upload them later. But yeah, I have probably like 20 of these already on my YouTube, so check them out if you're interested. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Peace.